Welcome to Flock Talk, the podcast where we feature your favorite authors and narrators. Hosted by Craig Hart and Sarah Hannon. Visit us today at pinkflamingoproductions.com. And now, Flock Talk. Hello, all you happy flockers out there, and welcome to Flock Talk. My name is Craig Hart, and I'm here with my rambunctious co-host, Sarah Hannon. How are things going your way, Sarah?
Surprisingly calm, Craig.
Not living up to your adjective today, are you?
Not living up to my adjective today.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Well, I
Too early, not enough coffee? What's going on?
I leave most of my rambunctiousness up to my children, all of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not much left in the tank after that, I hear you.
No, I want to put it in a jar and drink it. But
well, let's use what energy we have left for today's guest. We have a great guest today. Want to kick us off with a bio there, Sarah?
Yes, I would love to. Eva LeNoir lives in France with her husband, 2 sons, adorable pup, and a cat who is planning world domination. She works a full-time job. Yes, they all are. She works a full-time job that pays the bills, so she reserves all of her free time to doing what she loves most, writing. Eva likes teasing her husband that she should have married a billionaire so she could stay home and write all day, but then he makes her laugh at his silly antics and dreams of lavish lifestyles evaporate from her mind. That's really sweet. There are 3 things she believes unconditionally. Love really does conquer all. Humans are still inherently good, and wine and cheese will solve all the problems of the world. Eva, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
It's great to have you. To begin with, if you could only choose one wine and one cheese for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
What would I choose? I would definitely choose St. Joseph. That's my favorite wine. Well, the domain. It's a Rhône-Alpes wine, which is near Lyon, that whole region. And for cheese, I would have to go with goat. But here's the thing. I've been a vegan for 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure that I might go to jail because I think that it's against French law to do so. But goat cheese, definitely goat cheese.
I can tell you right now, I'm not nearly classy enough to be on this podcast.
Well, my pinky's always extended, so.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. I'll eat my cheeseburger with my pinky out. Ava, you have a lot of different series, one of which is the Ucc Saga series. Could you tell us a little bit about those books and how the idea for that series came about?
Yeah, of course. So a few years back, I think it was back in 2015 or something, we all rallied around an author that we adore, C.D. Reese, and a whole bunch of my friends, became my friends. We started a chat, and in that chat, it got really rowdy, really. And each one of us had this very particular personality, and it just, as soon as one person would start writing in the chat, it went downhill from there. So the idea actually came from that chat. So every single one of the girls who were in that chat is a character in the books. I took a little bit of their personalities, and every time I wrote a book, they were my alpha readers. And I put a little bit of their fantasies in the books. I mean, it's not them, it's not their names, it's not their lives, but it's basically their fantasy lives. And as they explained it in the chat. So that's how it came about. And it was really, really fun to write it because I had real life friends, and we met when the book came out. We all got together in Houston. So I flew over and we spent a week in Galveston together. That's how the book came about.
So when you say rowdy in the chat, you mean like party, not contentious.
Like dirty.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm.
I can't decide if I wish I'd been in that chat or I'm glad I missed it.
I mean, there were times where I was like, okay, we're going there. Right.
I just read that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just read that. So no, it was fun. It was fun. And I think that when you have all these different personalities in one chat and the freedom of actually being able to say things without, dare I say, consequences, I think the real nature of people actually comes out. And I mean, these ladies are amazing. They're probably some of the nicest people I've ever met. And but but they have filthy minds. So, yeah, I'm pure, and I don't have that
I'm sure
at
you
all.
don't.
So, mhm.
What would the other chat members say if we were to bring them on? Would they back you up on that, or?
Probably not. Yeah.
What is your typical timeline for writing a book?
Well, like I said, I'm working full time, so I'd have to say I'm probably able to put out maybe 2 books a year. I write during my vacation time. Thankfully, we have a lot of vacation in France because we have classes from 8 to 6 p.m. So every 6 or 7 weeks, I have 2 weeks off. And those 2 weeks are just on my computer working, sprinting. I spend a lot of time researching. Like I actually, that's part of my favorite thing to do is to research. So for example, if I'm writing something like the UCC is set in Washington, D.C., and I used to live in Northern Virginia, but I mean, memory doesn't always work. So I will spend hours and hours researching just for one phrase, and then sometimes I just won't even use it. But at least I know that it's there, that knowledge is there.
So with limited time, how do you must have to like really be as efficient as possible. How do you decide
Mhm.
which project to focus on, which series?
It's really what I need to write. I have so many different projects on my computer. It's just, if I had ADHD, I would probably go crazy. I have more of a procrastination problem than anything else, but I have all of these files and all of these book ideas and all of these things. And so sometimes I'll just, and this is not, I mean, it sounds like one of those things you see on TV or whatever, but sometimes I'll actually wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I have to write this book. And then the next day I'll be like, okay, we're getting into this one. So sometimes it just really has to be what my gut tells me to write, or else I can't. Like I said, I procrastinate a lot.
Well, finding time to write aside, what do you find the easiest about the writing process, and what do you find the most difficult?
The most difficult for me is I have such a boring kind of life. I don't have a lot of drama in my life. And so it's really difficult for me to put in so much drama in a book because I'm like, oh, that's too much. And but then I'll read a book and be like, oh, there's not enough drama in this book. So it's really difficult for me to yeah, it's really difficult for me to make my characters do all these crazy things because everything is kind of kosher here. But then I realized that I have to, or else my readers are just going to be like, well, that was boring. And then the easiest thing for me is just putting my music on, and as long as I know where I'm going, I put my headphones on. I've got rhythm, and I just write. I just write, and I love sprinting with my friends.
Can you explain to our listeners what a writing sprint is?
Yes. A writing sprint is when we get 2 or more, sometimes we're 4 or 5 of us on Zoom, and we will set up a timer. Usually we do 20-10, so 20 minutes writing, 10 minutes usually chatting. And we have a certain number of words, and basically we try to beat each other with the word count. So we're all very polite, but we're actually jealous when we don't win. So.
So I've actually been toying with the idea of trying to write. I got an idea when I was at baseball practice with my son the other day, and I was like, I would really like to write this book. Can you give me any advice about what I should do to start, like an outline, just start writing?
It really, really depends on. When I started out, I was a pantser, which means that I just kind of sat down, knew where I was going, and just started writing. But the more I get into series and the more, this whole writing gig thing was a lot easier back in 2014 when I started because you could get your name out there from the book world. Today, it's a lot more difficult, and so you really need to have your book needs to be tight. It needs to be clear. It needs to go in a certain direction, and it has to have its cues that readers kind of know where you're going. So for me, I need to actually plan it out. I plan it chapter by chapter. Like I know what my book is going to be. I know the ending, and then I write out each chapter what I want it to say. And usually, about 99% of the time, I don't follow it. So you start writing and then you're like, and what if I did that? And then your outline, it just flies out the window. So,
good intentions.
Yeah. I guess my advice is do as your gut tells you to do.
It may never happen, but like it's just brewing in there.
And then one day you'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I have to write it. And you'll know.
Your husband will be like, what are you doing?
He ignores me now. Like it's just, now he's just like,
there she goes again.
There she goes again. That's exactly it.
Well, if you could only recommend one of your books to a reader to start with, to introduce them to you, which one would it be?
So I just planned out my newsletter, and there's a book called The Wish, and it's a standalone, and I wrote it during the pandemic. So while the whole world was a big old dumpster fire, I put out 103,000 words in 3 months because I was on lockdown, because I wasn't, in class. So and we were sprinting, everyone was home. Like there was no issue of, because my big problem is the time zones. I'm 6 hours ahead of Eastern. So, it's always the wait game. And, but here everyone was free all the time and it was great. And I wrote this book, and it's a book about travel because I love traveling. I've traveled my entire life, and it's just, it's a beautiful journey is what it is. And it really helped, during this whole lockdown situation during the pandemic. It was just a great way to, like I said, I research a lot. So I was able to research Australia and Japan and Hawaii, and we went to see the Northern Lights and all of that. So this book is all of that. So,
what is something about you that people might be surprised to learn?
That I'm boring.
I think that might be the best answer ever.
I really am. Like, I was looking back and I was like, wow, these people have such exciting lives. I don't know. We're a motorcycle family. So I don't know if many people actually know that. We all have our motorcycle licenses, even my kids. My 18-year-old just got his, and my 16-year-old is about to have his next week. So we just went to, I don't know if you know who Valentino Rossi is. He was, I think, world champion 9 times. And he changed over to car driving. And one of my students works in one of the padlocks or whatever. And Valentino Rossi is one of his drivers.
Wow.
So we were able to go see him last weekend. And that was fun.
Very cool. What is one book that you wish you had written? Any book?
The Great Gatsby. It's my go-to always.
Yeah, there's so many layers to that book. You can't read it. Every time you read it, there's a new, I never noticed that before. That connects to this. And it's just, incredible.
Exactly. I usually end up reading it once a year or maybe once every 2 years, just because I need to have that energy that's in that book. There are so many things in that story, so many layers and so much heartbreak and so much happiness and so many things. And the city itself is a character that you can't let go of. I wish I'd written it, but
Yeah. That would have been amazing. Well, that wraps up the main questions, but we do have an extra section that we always tack on at the end. We call Hot Six. Are you ready for this?
Is it 6 or sex?
It's 6.
We can neither confirm nor define.
Wink, wink. Buckle up, listeners. It's time for Hot 6.
All right, question number 1. What is the most overrated book you've ever read?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'm looking at my bookshelves. I'm stunned on the first question. How horrible is that? I don't know. Because
you can choose somebody who's dead so they can't come after you.
Yeah, this is my 9th episode in, and I just came up with mine, so.
Oh, wow. Maybe the Kama Sutra. No, I'm kidding. Right.
You can't do that.
I can't do that. Oh, here we go. Okay, so enemies, yes. Harry Potter. Can't do it. Cannot. I tried. I fell asleep. The books, I can't do it. And everyone,
Does the same
my
hold
students.
true for the movies?
Well, I fell asleep at some part where there was a mirror. I can't even remember the story. I know that when my students do book reports, I know that, I know the story because they keep doing the same book reports on the same books. But I can't do it. I can't get myself into those characters. So, I mean, whether or not it's overrated, I don't know. But at least on a personal note, I can't adhere. I am so getting hate mail.
Oh, you're going to be fine. All right, question 2. What famous literary work have you never read, but you feel like you should have?
I think I've actually lied about it. Like someone asked me if I read it. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, of course I have. And I haven't. I have never read Wuthering Heights. So,
Question number 3. If you could be any animal for one day, what would you be?
A cat. Have you seen them? It's like, I mean, they, don't touch me. Oh, please pet me, but not now. Like, just,
Yeah.
just let me be my own queen. That's what I want to be. I want to be a cat.
I love the cat. I don't know if you've seen the cat diaries where it's writing day 356. Will this loneliness never end? And then the owner comes over and she's like, ah! Don't touch me.
Exactly. No petting. Do not pet me.
Question 4.
Yeah.
What is your biggest grammatical pet peeve?
I cannot for the life of me write acknowledgements correctly. I just can't. I have to always, I just kind of write it out and then wait for the little red squiggly line. Be like, the C, that's one. Acknowledgements.
All right, question number 5. Looking back over your entire lifetime, what is your most embarrassing favorite song?
So I'm too sexy. That sexy thing. I kind of break out and dance always. And my kids are just like, she's lost it again.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Too sexy for my shirt. They don't believe it though.
Oh. All right, last one. Question 6. What is one thing you wish you could uninvent?
This is really lame, but I really wish that cell phones didn't exist. I'm Generation X. So the last generation that has no proof of all the things I did. And I feel like our kids are they know everything and there's no mystery to life anymore. It's like my kid's 16 and he's like, oh, I know about that. I'm like, how do you know about that? He's like, well, I saw it online. I'm like, ugh. So I feel like cell phones have kind of taken away the mystery of life. So if I could uninvent it, I would.
I don't disagree. I mean, I also feel like there's something like of always being connected. Like somebody can always reach you at any time.
Always.
And I do kind of miss
it's really frustrating.
being able to be off the grid.
Right? Like sorry, missed your call, but I was out. Like you can't say that anymore.
They know you're lying.
Like you could ignore someone calling you when we only had the phones on the wall and be like, sorry, I wasn't home. But yeah, now it's like, sorry, I was ghosting.
Right. Sorry, I just didn't care.
Yeah. Sorry, saw your name.
I would have answered your call, but I didn't wanna.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just forcing us to be mean people.
All right. Well, this has been great. Eva, thanks you so much for being on Flock Talk. Really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Flock Talk, the podcast where we feature your favorite authors and narrators. Hosted by Craig Hart and Sarah Hannon. This podcast is produced by Pink Flamingo Productions. Editing by Craig Hart. Visit us today at pinkflamingoproductions.com.